The day my parents sold my car to fund my brother's Ibiza vacation was the day I stopped believing in family loyalty. I stood in our driveway, watching Dad hand over the keys to some stranger with cash, the same keys he'd dangled in front of me at graduation with the promise, "Just 6 more months of payments, Whitney, and she's all yours." I'm Whitney, by the way. The responsible one, the quiet one, the one who worked part-time through college, made Dean's List, and landed a decent HR job right after graduation. I'm also the one who's been walking 40 minutes to the bus stop every morning because my brother Royal needed to find himself on a Mediterranean beach. "You're being dramatic," Mom said when I confronted her about the car. She was folding Royal's laundry, something she hadn't done for me since I was 12. "Your brother needs this opportunity. You know how sensitive he is." "Sensitive?" I laughed. He dropped out of college after one semester because his roommate didn't appreciate his creative energy. How is that sensitive? That's exactly what I mean. Mom pressed one of Royal's designer t-shirts to her chest. "He's an artist, Whitney. He sees the world differently." "He sees the world through everyone else's wallet," I muttered. Dad walked in then, his face already set in that stern expression he reserved for my attitude problems. "Young lady, this family works as a unit," he said. "Sometimes we all need to make sacrifices for each other." "When has Royal ever sacrificed anything for me?" The silence that followed was deafening. Mom busied herself with the laundry while Dad crossed his arms, waiting for me to back down like I always did. Not this time. "Remember when I was sick with the flu?" I pressed on. "I was 10, and you still made me clean the house while Royal played Xbox right next to me. He couldn't even pause his game to get me water." "That was different," Mom jumped in. "He was studying for a math test that week. He was playing Grand Theft Auto. I remember because he kept running over pedestrians and laughing while I scrubbed the bathroom floor." Dad's face darkened. "That's enough. You're 25 years old, Whitney. Act like it." "I am acting like it. I'm the only one here who seems to understand that actions have consequences." I stormed out of the living room and up to the 2nd floor, seeking refuge in the one place that always felt safe. Grandma Evelyn's old room. She passed away 3 months ago, but Mom hadn't touched anything yet. Said she wasn't ready. More likely she was waiting for Royal to come home and claim whatever he wanted first. The familiar scent of lavender and old books wrapped around me as I sat on Grandma's bed. She was the only one who ever really saw me, really listened. Even in her final days, she'd squeeze my hand and whisper, "Patience, dear heart, your time is coming." I noticed a thick envelope poking out from under her jewelry box. Strange, I thought we'd gathered all her important papers weeks ago. The paper was expensive, legal-looking, with the return address of Harrison and Myers, attorneys at law. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a deed to this house, with my name on it. The document was crystal clear. Upon my 25th birthday, exactly 10 days from now, the entire property would transfer to me. No conditions, no splits, no family votes. Just me. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Family meeting tonight. We need to discuss Royal's homecoming party next weekend. The whole neighborhood's coming." I looked at the deed again, then back at the text. My birthday and Royal's party were on the same day. Another buzz. "Actually, honey, maybe skip the meeting. You seem stressed lately, and we need positive energy for planning. You understand?" I did understand. Finally, I understood everything. Grandma's voice echoed in my head. "Your time is coming." I carefully folded the deed and slipped it into my purse. For the first time in my life, I felt something new stirring in my chest. Not the usual hurt, not the familiar resignation. Power. I took one last look around Grandma's room, at the faded wallpaper and worn carpet that would soon be mine to change or keep as I pleased. "Thank you, Grandma," I whispered. "I won't waste this." As I walked down the stairs, I heard Mom on the phone, probably with another party guest. "Oh, yes, it'll be wonderful. Royal's finally coming home. The prodigal son returns." I smiled to myself. Let them plan their party. Let them celebrate their golden child. They had no idea what else was coming home to roost. "You've got to be kidding me." Charlotte stared at me across our tiny apartment kitchen, coffee mug frozen halfway to her mouth. "They actually uninvited you from your own brother's party? At your family home? On your birthday?" I nodded, pushing my scrambled eggs around my plate. "Mom said, and I quote, 'Your negative energy might spoil the atmosphere.' Your negative energy?" Charlotte slammed her mug down. "What about Royal's negative bank balance? Or your parents' negative parenting skills?" "Apparently those don't count." I pulled out my phone and read Mom's latest text. "We just think it's best if you sit this one out, honey. Royal's been through so much lately, and he needs this celebration to be perfect. Maybe we can do something small for your birthday next week." Charlotte grabbed my phone and typed furiously. "Don't!" I reached for it. "What are you writing?" "Nothing yet, but I've got a few choice words in mind." She handed it back. "Whitney, you can't let them keep treating you like this." "I know." I smiled for the first time that morning. "And I won't." I pulled the deed from my bag and handed it to her. Charlotte's eyes widened as she read. "Holy... is this real?" "I'm meeting with Grandma's lawyer today to confirm everything. The law office of Harrison and Myers was exactly what you'd expect. All mahogany and leather-bound books. Mr. Harrison himself was a kind-faced man who'd handled my grandmother's affairs for decades. Your grandmother was very specific about this arrangement," he said, sliding the paperwork across his desk. "The house transfers to you completely on your 25th birthday. Your parents were never added to the deed. They've essentially been living there on your grandmother's goodwill all these years." "Can they fight it?" "They can try," he smiled, "but they won't win. Everything's ironclad. Mrs. Lawson knew exactly what she was doing. I bet she did. Grandma always said she played the long game. When I got to work, Leo was waiting by my desk with his usual coffee offering. "You look like you're plotting something," he said, studying my face. "What makes you say that?" "You've got that look my sister gets right before she destroys someone in court." He sat on the edge of my desk. "Want to talk about it?" I hesitated. Leo had been nothing but kind since I started working here, but this felt too personal. Let's just say, hypothetically, if someone had treated you like a doormat your whole life, and you suddenly had the power to show them exactly how it feels, would you use it? He thought for a moment. Hypothetically, I'd say revenge isn't always about cruelty. Sometimes it's justice with better timing. I turned those words over in my mind all day. That evening, I drove to my parents' house, soon to be my house, and sat in the car, watching. Mom was directing Dad and two neighbors as they hung fairy lights across the porch. Royal's homecoming would look like a magazine spread, of course. My phone buzzed. Royal. "Hey, sis. Heard you're being difficult about the party. Can't you just be cool for once?" 22 years of memories flooded back. Royal borrowing my textbook money for concert tickets. Royal breaking my science project the night before it was due because he was practicing parkour in the house. Royal getting a car for his 16th birthday while I got a lecture about patience. I typed back, "Don't worry, I won't be there to ruin your special day." Let them party. Let them celebrate. Let them think they've won again. Back home, Charlotte was waiting with takeout and a determined expression. "So, what's the plan?" "First, I need to get copies of every financial document from the last 5 years. Then I need to talk to the bank about mortgage payments. And then—" I pulled out a legal pad. "I need to draft an eviction notice." "An eviction notice?" Charlotte's eyes lit up. "Oh, this is going to be good." "They want a perfect party?" I started writing. "I'll give them one they'll never forget." My phone buzzed again. Mom sending party planning updates to the family group chat. Pictures of decorations, menu items, even a custom playlist. Everything Royal could want. I muted the chat and opened my calendar instead, marking the date. My birthday, the party, and the day the house becomes mine. 3 celebrations in one. "You know they're going to hate you for this," Charlotte said softly. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my feelings to keep the peace. All the times I'd dimmed my light so Royal could shine brighter. All the years of family comes first, really meaning Royal comes first. "They already hate who I really am," I said. "Might as well give them a reason." I picked up my pen and started writing the eviction notice, Grandma's voice echoing in my head. "Sometimes the biggest act of self-love is simply standing your ground." Grandma Evelyn's journal was bound in worn blue leather, its pages filled with her elegant handwriting. I found it while going through the last box of her belongings, tucked beneath old photographs and birthday cards I'd made her. "You won't believe what I just found," I said into my phone. "What?" Charlotte's voice crackled through the speaker. "Grandma kept a journal, and—" I flipped through the pages. She wrote about everything. The most recent entries were from just weeks before she died. My hands shook as I read. "Today I watched Teresa praise Royal for making his own breakfast, at 22, while Whitney quietly paid their electric bill without a word of thanks. The girl has been carrying this family's burden since she could walk, and they don't even see it." "Read me more," Charlotte urged. I turned to an entry from last year. "Curtis asked Whitney for her college fund today. Said Royal had an emergency in Florida. She doesn't know they've been giving him her money for years. My heart breaks for her." The phone slipped from my hand. "Whitney?" Charlotte's voice seemed far away. "What's wrong?" "My college fund," I whispered. "They took my college fund." That explained the mysterious financial aid mix-up freshman year. Why I had to take out extra loans. Why Dad kept changing the subject when I asked about the money Grandma had set aside for my education. They'd given it to Royal. I drove to my parents' house in a daze, clutching the journal. Dad was in the driveway, washing his car. "Whitney?" He looked surprised. "What are you doing here?" "Where's Mom?" "Inside, but—" I walked past him into the kitchen. Mom was sorting through party supplies, surrounded by shopping bags. "Oh," she said when she saw me. "I thought we agreed you'd give us space until after the party." "My college fund." My voice was steady, despite the rage building in my chest. "What happened to it?" The color drained from her face. "Who told you about that?" "Does it matter? I want the truth." Dad appeared behind me. Now isn't the time. It's never the time. I slammed Grandma's journal on the counter. Royal needed money in Florida? For what? Mom and Dad exchanged looks. Your brother had a business opportunity, Dad said carefully. A startup company. A pyramid scheme, Mom interrupted, surprising us both. It was a pyramid scheme. He lost everything in 2 weeks. I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. And you just gave him my money? Without asking? Without telling me? He was desperate, Dad defended. And you're so capable, Whitney. We knew you'd figure something out. Capable? The word tasted bitter. I was capable of taking out loans, capable of working 2 jobs, capable of eating ramen for dinner while Royal posted Instagram stories from South Beach. You're being dramatic again. Mom sighed, turning back to her party supplies. What's done is done, and please don't mention this at the party. Royal feels very sensitive about his business ventures. I picked up one of her shopping bags. Catering from Le Petit Bistro? That's $200 per person. It's your brother's favorite. Was it his favorite when I had to skip lunch to make my loan payments? Mom slammed a roll of streamers down. Enough! I don't understand why you're always competing with your brother. He needs our support right now. And I didn't? You've always been stronger, Dad said, like it was a compliment. I opened Grandma's journal to another page and read aloud. Watched little Whitney clean the entire house with a fever today. Teresa said she needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, Royal couldn't even bring his own dishes to the sink. They're breaking that girl's spirit piece by piece, and they don't even know it. Mom's hands trembled. Your grandmother didn't understand. She understood perfectly. I closed the journal. She saw everything. Whitney, Dad's voice held a warning. Think very carefully about your next move. Family is all we have. I looked around the kitchen at the expensive party supplies and gourmet food orders, at the parents who saw my independence as an excuse to give everything to my brother. No, I said quietly. Family is what you choose, and in 10 days, I'm choosing differently. I walked out, ignoring their calls. In the driveway, I passed Royal's old baseball trophies in the garbage, probably cleared out to make room for whatever souvenirs he brought back from Ibiza. My phone buzzed with a text from Leo. Coffee tomorrow? You look like you could use a friend. I smiled despite everything. At least some people saw me clearly. Another text came through, this time from Royal. Mom says you're causing drama again. Can't you just be happy for me for once? I looked at his message, then at Grandma's journal in my passenger seat. Oh, I'm going to be very happy, I whispered, just not in the way you expect. Happy birthday to me, I whispered, watching the notary stamp the final document. The eviction notice lay on my kitchen table, official and irreversible. Charlotte paced behind me, practically vibrating with excitement. I can't believe this is really happening. What time does the party start? 7? I checked my watch. Which gives me exactly 9 hours to decide if I'm really going through with this. Oh, you're going through with it. She picked up the notice. They've had 25 years of party time. Tonight's your turn. My phone buzzed with birthday messages. None from my family, of course. They were too busy with Royal's homecoming preparations, but Leo's message made me smile. Happy birthday. Don't forget our coffee date at 10. No excuses, birthday girl. The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Leo sat at our usual corner table, 2 steaming mugs waiting. You look different today, he said as I sat down. Different good or different bad? Different, powerful. He pushed a small wrapped package across the table. Happy birthday. Inside was a sleek leather portfolio with my initials embossed in gold. For when you need to look extra professional. He winked. It's perfect timing, actually. I ran my fingers over the leather. I have some important documents to deliver tonight. The mysterious family situation? I nodded, then found myself telling him everything. The years of favoritism, the stolen college fund, the house deed, the eviction notice. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. So, tonight at his party, he said finally, you're going to take back what's mine. I met his eyes. Does that make me a terrible person? No. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. It makes you someone who finally stopped accepting less than she deserves. Back home, Charlotte had laid out 3 different outfits on my bed. You need something that says, I own this house, and your entire reality is about to change. I chose a black dress, simple, elegant, devastating. As I got ready, the party preparations appeared in our family group chat. Mom posted pictures of the catering setup, the professional decorations, the custom cocktail menu. Royal's going to love everything, someone commented. Our boy deserves the best, Mom replied. I muted the chat and opened my email instead, confirming the movers I'd booked for my parents in 90 days. Professional, efficient, and non-negotiable. You know what the craziest part is? I said to Charlotte as she helped me with my makeup. I keep waiting to feel guilty, but I don't. I just feel ready. That's because you're not doing this out of spite, she said, applying my mascara. You're doing it for justice, for little 10-year-old Whitney who had to clean while she was sick, for college Whitney who had to take extra loans, for every version of you they ignored. My phone buzzed again, a text from Royal. Hey sis, Mom says you're still being weird about tonight. Look, I know you're jealous of my Ibiza trip, but can't you just be cool? I brought you back a keychain. A keychain for my birthday. After taking my college fund, my car, and years of my parents' attention. That's it. I stood up, grabbing my new portfolio with the eviction notice inside. I'm going to that party. What happened to waiting until tomorrow? They want to celebrate. I checked my reflection one last time. Let's celebrate. Charlotte hugged me tight. Go get your house, girl. I drove slowly past my childhood home, now lit up like a Christmas display. Cars lined both sides of the street. Music pulsed from inside. Through the windows I could see people laughing, drinking, celebrating my brother's return from his latest escapade. My phone lit up with a message from Leo. Remember, revenge isn't about cruelty, it's justice with better timing. I touched Grandma's journal in my passenger seat, then the eviction notice in my portfolio. 25 years of being the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who never complained. 25 years of watching Royal take and take while I gave and gave. Well, Grandma had given me something too, and it was time to cash in. I parked around the corner and checked my makeup one last time. The woman in the mirror looked calm, collected, and absolutely certain. Happy birthday to me, I whispered again, but this time it wasn't sad. This time it was a promise. I stepped out of the car and started walking toward the house. My house, where I could hear my father starting his welcome speech. The front door was open, spilling light onto the porch. Time to crash a party. The sound of clinking glasses and laughter grew louder as I approached the front door. Through the window, I could see Dad standing in the living room, champagne glass raised high. "To our son," he was saying, "who's finally found his path." I stepped into the doorway. The floorboard creaked beneath my heel, and heads turned. The conversations died one by one, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Mom saw me first. Her face went from shocked to angry to carefully composed in the span of seconds. "Whitney," she said tightly, "we discussed this." "Did we?" I smiled, channeling every ounce of Grandma's quiet strength. "I must have missed that conversation while I was uninvited from my own birthday party." Royal pushed through the crowd, already rolling his eyes. "Here we go again. Always making everything about you." "Royal!" A girl in a sequined dress stumbled forward, one of his Ibiza friends, Kaya. "Aren't you going to introduce us to your sister?" "She was just leaving," Mom said quickly. "Actually," I opened my portfolio, "I brought something for the party." Dad's speech forgotten, he stepped forward. "Whitney, whatever you're planning—" "Planning." I pulled out the envelope. "I'm just here to celebrate. Isn't that what families do?" The room had gone completely silent. Even the music seemed to fade into background static as I walked toward my father, heels clicking against the hardwood floors that would soon be mine. "Here, Dad." I held out the envelope. "Happy birthday to me." His hands shook slightly as he took it. Mom pressed against his side, peering over his shoulder as he opened the flap. I watched their faces as they read. The color drained from Dad's cheeks. Mom's hand flew to her throat. "This—" Dad looked up at me. "This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real." I pulled out another document. "And here's the eviction notice. You have 90 days. Royal snatched the papers from Dad's hands. "What eviction? What is she talking about?" "Your grandmother," Mom whispered. "She left the house to Whitney." "The house?" Royal laughed, but it sounded hollow. "No way! Dad, tell her she can't do this." "He can't tell me anything." I turned to address the stunned party guests. "Because as of today, my 25th birthday, this house legally belongs to me, and I'm exercising my right as property owner to evict the current occupants." "You vindictive little—" Mom started, but Dad grabbed her arm. "All these years," he said, his voice rough, "your grandmother was planning this. She was protecting me, the only one who ever did." Kaya, clearly drunk and missing the tension, raised her glass. "Oh my God! This is just like that episode in Ibiza when Royal tried to get on that reality show. Remember how that producer totally—" "Shut up, Kaya!" Royal snapped, but it was too late. Mom's head whipped around. "What reality show?" "The whole trip," Kaya continued, oblivious to Royal's frantic gestures. "We spent like 3 days auditioning for Paradise Island, but they said Royal wasn't dramatic enough. Can you believe it? After he spent all that money on—" "That was my college fund," I cut in. "My car money, all blown on a failed reality TV audition." The silence that followed was deafening. Someone's glass shattered in the kitchen. A few guests started quietly gathering their coats. 90 days, I repeated, my voice steady. "I've arranged for a moving company. They'll contact you next week to begin planning the logistics." "You can't do this to your own family," Mom pleaded, tears starting to fall. "Family?" I looked around the room at the expensive decorations and gourmet food. "Was it family when you made me clean while I was sick? When you took my college fund? When you uninvited me from my own birthday celebration?" I brought you a keychain. Royal muttered weakly. Keep it. Consider it a parting gift. I turned to leave, but Dad's voice stopped me. Whitney. He sounded older, suddenly, defeated. You're just like your grandmother. Thank you. I smiled genuinely for the first time that night. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. As I walked out, I heard the chaos erupting behind me. Mom's sobs, Royal's protests, guests awkwardly making excuses to leave. But I didn't look back. My phone buzzed, a text from Charlotte. Well, it's done, I replied. I'll tell you everything over wine. A lot of wine. Another message popped up, this one from Leo. Proud of you, birthday girl. I got into my car and looked up at the house. My house. One last time. Through the window, I could see my family arguing, their perfect party in shambles. Happy birthday to me, I said one final time, and drove away into my new life. The aftermath hit faster than I expected. My phone started buzzing before I even made it home. First came the angry texts from Royal. You ruined everything. Mom's crying, Dad's having chest pains, and it's all your fault. Then the guilt trip messages from Mom. How could you humiliate us like this? In front of all our friends. We raised you better. I walked into my apartment to find Charlotte and Leo waiting with wine and takeout. Spill everything, Charlotte demanded, pulling me onto the couch. Before I could start, my phone rang. Aunt Susan, Mom's sister. I put it on speaker. Whitney, what is wrong with you? She screeched. Your mother just called me hysterical. Your father's blood pressure is probably high from all the money he's been giving Royal. I cut in. Did she tell you about my college fund? Or was that left out of the family drama report? Silence. Then, well, what college fund? I told her everything. The stolen money, the car, the years of favoritism. By the end, her tone had changed completely. Those idiots, she muttered. I always knew Teresa babied that boy too much, but this is something else. My phone dinged with another message. Kaya, Royal's Ibiza friend. Hey, sorry about spilling about the show thing, but since everything's out now, your brother actually spent way more than he told your parents. He hired this fake producer to coach him and everything. Total scam. Just thought you should know. P.S. Love your dress. I showed the message to Charlotte and Leo. Record everything, Leo advised, reaching for his laptop. Forward me those texts. We'll document every admission, every threat, just in case. In case of what? In case they try to fight the eviction. People get desperate when their comfort zone is threatened. Right on cue, my phone lit up with Dad's number. Put it on speaker, Charlotte whispered. Whitney. Dad's voice was eerily calm. We need to discuss this like adults. Okay, let's discuss how you gave away my college fund without telling me. That was a complicated situation. Really? Because Kaya just told me Royal spent it on a fake TV producer. Seems pretty straightforward to me. He was following his dreams. And I was following my loan payment schedule. Leo started typing rapidly, documenting every word. Look! Dad's voice turned pleading. We can work something out. The house. It's our home. Your mother's garden. Your childhood memories. My memories? I laughed. You mean like watching Royal open his new Xbox while I got school supplies for Christmas? Or how about when you made me give him my birthday money because he lost his wallet? Again. We made mistakes, he admitted. But this is cruel. No, Dad. cruel is making your daughter feel worthless for 25 years. This is just consequences." The line went quiet. Then, "Your grandmother would be ashamed." "Actually," I pulled out her journal. "She wrote exactly what she thought about you both. Want me to read it?" He hung up. Moments later, Mom's text. "Royal's having a panic attack. I hope you're happy." "Royal's having a tantrum," Charlotte corrected, reading over my shoulder. There's a difference. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family, friends, and relatives. Some were angry, some confused, but surprisingly, some were supportive. "About time someone stood up to them," wrote my cousin Rachel. "Remember when Uncle Curtis made you return your prom dress so Royal could go on that ski trip?" "I heard what happened," texted my old neighbor, Mrs. Parker. "Your grandmother told me what she was planning. She'd be so proud of you right now." Leo looked up from his laptop. "I've documented everything. Texts, emails, social media posts. They don't have a legal leg to stand on, but it's good to be prepared." "Thank you," I said softly. "Both of you, for being here." "Always," Charlotte raised her wine glass, "to Karma finally showing up to work." My phone buzzed one final time. Royal again. "Dad's talking about lawyers. Says you can't just throw away family like this." I thought about Grandma's journal, about all the times she watched silently, planning this moment, about how family isn't just blood and DNA, it's choices and consequences. "Watch me," I typed back. Charlotte refilled my glass. "So, what's next?" I pulled out the house deed, running my fingers over my name. "Next, I start planning renovations. That house needs some serious updates." "And your parents?" "Have 89 days to figure out their next move." Leo raised his glass. "To new beginnings." "To justice," Charlotte added. "To Grandma Evelyn," I said quietly, "who taught me that sometimes the biggest act of love is saying, 'Enough.'" The moving truck arrived exactly 90 days later. I stood on the sidewalk, watching as strangers carried out pieces of my childhood. Furniture, boxes, memories wrapped in bubble wrap. "You don't have to be here for this," Leo said, squeezing my hand. We'd been dating for 2 months now, ever since that night he helped document everything. "Yes, I do." Mom and Dad hadn't spoken to me since the party, communicating only through their lawyer. Royal had tried everything. Threats, guilt trips, even a sad attempt at blackmail with embarrassing childhood photos. Nothing worked. "That's the last of it," the moving foreman called out, closing the truck's rear door. Mom appeared on the porch, clutching her purse like a shield. "I suppose you're happy now." "This was never about happiness, Mom." "No?" She stepped closer. "Then what was it about? Punishment? Revenge?" "Justice." I met her eyes. "For every time you made me feel less than Royal. For every sacrifice you demanded from me but never from him." "We gave you everything." "You gave him everything. I earned everything I have." Dad emerged from the house, keys in hand. He looked older somehow, defeated. "The garage is empty. Royal's things are in storage." "Where is he?" I asked, noticing his absence. "Bali." Mom sniffed. "He needed to heal from this trauma. Used his emergency credit card." "Of course he did." "Your grandmother," Dad said suddenly. "She used to tell me I was making a mistake, that I was teaching Royal the wrong lessons about life. I didn't listen." "No, you didn't." "And now we're paying for it." "You're not paying for anything, Dad. You're just finally not making me pay for everything." A car pulled up. Aunt Susan. She'd offered my parents her guest house, while they looked for a new place. As they loaded the last of their personal items into her car, Mom turned to me one final time. "This house," she gestured at the building behind us, "it won't make you happy. It won't fill the void where family should be." "Maybe not," I agreed. "But at least it's honest about its emptiness." They drove away without another word. Leo helped me carry in the supplies we'd brought, cleaning materials, paint samples, take-out dinner. "You okay?" he asked as we sat on the floor of what used to be the living room. "I don't know." I looked around at the blank walls, the empty spaces. "It feels different." "Different good or different bad?" "Just different." I pulled out Grandma's journal. Like I'm finally seeing it through her eyes. The doorbell rang. Charlotte carrying champagne and Chinese food. "Housewarming time!" We sat on the floor, eating straight from the containers, planning renovations and new memories. My phone stayed quiet. No texts, no calls, no guilt trips. "Oh!" Charlotte jumped up. "Almost forgot!" She ran out to her car and returned with a wrapped package. "From your grandmother." "What? How?" "She gave it to me last year, made me promise to wait until today." Inside was a small wooden box, hand-carved with my name. A letter sat on top. "My dearest Whitney, if you're reading this, you've finally done it. You've finally stood up for yourself. The house is yours now, but that's not the real gift. The real gift is knowing your own worth. I watched them dim your light for years, telling myself it wasn't my place to interfere. But then I realized sometimes love means making hard choices. Sometimes protection comes in the form of preparation. Inside this box are seeds from my garden, the ones your mother always said were too wild, too uncontrollable. Plant them. Let them grow however they want. Let them remind you that sometimes the most beautiful things come from standing your ground. You are not cruel for demanding respect. You are not wrong for expecting fairness. You are exactly who you were meant to be, strong, resilient, and finally free. All my love, Grandma Evelyn. Leo wiped a tear from my cheek. "You good?" I looked at the seeds, at the empty house waiting to become something new, at these people who loved me without conditions. "Yeah," I smiled. "I'm good." Charlotte raised her champagne. "To Whitney's house." "To Whitney's choice," Leo corrected. "To Grandma's garden," I added softly. Outside, the moving truck pulled away, carrying the last pieces of my old life. Inside, surrounded by possibility and unconditional love, I finally felt at home. The garden bloomed wild and free, just like Grandma promised. Purple coneflowers stretched toward the sky, black-eyed Susans danced in the breeze, and her prized roses climbed the newly painted walls. I stood on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint everything gold. The mail truck pulled up. Among the usual bills and magazines was a postcard from Bali. Royal's messy handwriting scrawled across the back. "Sis, Mom and Dad are selling their story to anyone who'll listen, but we both know the truth. You won. Congratulations on breaking up the family. Hope you're happy in your empty house." "What's that?" Leo asked, coming up behind me. "Just Royal, still thinking this was a game to win." I tucked the postcard into Grandma's journal. He never understood it wasn't about winning. The doorbell rang. Charlotte burst in, waving her phone. "You need to see this. Your mom's been posting on Facebook again." She showed me the latest dramatic update. Another sleepless night in Susan's guest room, wondering where we went wrong. Our daughter chose a house over her family's love. Please pray for us in this difficult time. Still playing the victim, I sighed. Some things never change. But some things do. Leo pointed to the garden. Look who's here. Aunt Susan walked up the path, carrying a box. She'd been different since the eviction, like she was seeing her sister clearly for the first time. I found these while cleaning out the guest room, she said, setting the box down. Your mother was going to throw them away. Inside were photo albums, report cards, art projects, every trace of my childhood Mom had deemed unworthy of keeping. There's more. Susan pulled out an envelope. Your graduation money from Grandpa, the money your mother lost before it could reach you. I stared at the uncashed check. She kept this? All these years? She kept everything she took from you, like trophies. Susan's voice hardened. I confronted her about it. Want to know what she said? Whitney was always so good at handling disappointment. The words hit like a physical blow. Leo's arm tightened around my waist. But that's not why I'm here, Susan continued. I came to tell you, Royal's reality show audition wasn't his first scam. I found receipts, credit card statements. He's been stealing from them for years, and they've been covering it up, using your money, your opportunities, to fix his mistakes. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know. This house. It's not just karma, it's protection. Grandma Evelyn knew exactly what she was doing. The morning sun caught the roses, making them glow like fire. Grandma's roses, now my roses, blooming despite everything. They're saying you destroyed the family, Susan said softly. But you didn't. You just stopped letting them destroy you. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Royal's in trouble again. We need money. The house could solve everything if you'd just be reasonable. I showed it to Susan. Same pattern. She shook her head. Different day. Not anymore. I blocked the number, feeling lighter with each click. Charlotte picked up Grandma's journal. Want to hear something spooky? Today's entry from 5 years ago. Whitney's learning to garden. Teresa says she's doing it wrong, that the flowers need more control. But Whitney lets them grow wild, strong, beautiful, just like her. Leo smiled. Grandma knew. She always knew. I looked around at my home, not empty anymore, but full of chosen family and honest love. The garden caught my eye again. Among Grandma's flowers, new blooms were emerging. Plants I'd added, colors she never tried, beauty she hadn't planned but would have loved. You know what's funny? I said, watching a butterfly land on the roses. They keep saying I chose a house over family, but that's not what happened at all. No? Charlotte raised an eyebrow. I chose myself. The house was just a bonus. Susan hugged me tight. Your grandmother would be so proud. I know. I smiled at the garden, at Leo, at Charlotte, at this aunt who chose truth over loyalty. And for the first time in my life, I'm proud too. The morning sun climbed higher, warming the garden Grandma planned, and I continued. Wild flowers and careful roses, old growth and new blooms, all thriving together. Just like me. I didn't evict them out of hate. I did it so I would never again live in a place where love had conditions, where worth was measured in sacrifices, where family meant silence. Sometimes karma isn't a boomerang. Sometimes it's a garden, growing exactly as it should, beautiful and untamed, and finally, perfectly free.